Hello, this is Old School from WhatTheBuck.net coming to you with a preview for the Atlanta Falcons game this week here in Raymond James Stadium. We got flexed to a 4 o'clock start or a 4:15 start because of the importance of this game, and I think a lot of people here locally are talking about it being a must-win game. I hate the usage of the term must-win, especially when it isn't, strictly speaking, a must-win, but I understand the importance as the Falcons come in with one of the best record in the NFC with 2 losses, coming off of, I believe, a 5-game winning streak, and with a team that's really, by many people, including Pat Kerwin, considered the best team in the NFL based on their balance on run versus pass balance, as well as defense versus offensive balance. It's a team that's stacked across the board. Now, when you look at the breakdown of this team versus our young Buccaneer team, the building blocks are very similar. They got a solid quarterback, a young guy, smart guy, big arm, makes good decisions, manages the game well, but can take shots when he needs to. A solid kind of workhorse running back in Michael Turner. And then with Roddy White and Tony Gonzalez, they've got the 1-2 punch on the wide receiving core. You look at the Bucs side of the ball, we got a very similar structure forming with Josh Freeman. LeGarrette Blount looks to be the real deal if we could just consistently actually hand him the ball and give him an opportunity to make the yardage instead of taking the ball out of his hand. We got Kellen Winslow and Mike Williams. We got a lot of youth out there as well. Now on the offensive line, again, similarities continue. The offensive line for the Falcons has been serviceable, got the job done, protected Matt Ryan long enough for him to get the ball out to his receivers, and opened up holes for Michael Turner and Jason Snelling and whoever else happens to run the ball. But they certainly are susceptible. Sam Baker particularly, we talked about it before the game that we played in the Georgia Dome. This was an opportunity for Styles White and some of our defensive fronts to actually get a chance to get upfield because they do give up a lot of pressures. We got 21, 10, 11, 13 pressures. Now, compared to our offensive line, those look like great numbers. I mean, you look at what we've got, and we've got a couple guys with 25 and 20 pressures, and that's Donald Penn and Davin Joseph. Donald Penn, the only guy who's starting every game for us. So the offensive lines on both sides become a risk. But when we game plan against the Falcons last time, we talked about a couple of things. Their running game is predictable. They're going to line up in an I formation. You're going to know where the ball is coming. There's not going to be a lot of misdirection. You've got to make it to your gap. You've got to wrap when you get there and let the other guys rally to the ball. With Cody Grimm going out, one of our best run stuffers from the safety position, which is amazing that we're saying that, given how young the kid is. We're going to have to see what Corey Lynch can do. That's the big news this week, is that Corey Lynch is going to get the start. Is he going to be able to fill in that run support as well as play the position in the passing game effectively? Or are we going to be really exposed given the fact that we have no depth after the release of Savvy Piscatelli, though you could probably successfully argue that we had no depth with him in the game as well. On the offensive line for us, there was some discussion about whether Jeremy Trueblood would be back in the lineup. It looks like James Lee is going to start again, even though he really faded against the Ravens towards the end of the game. Now, like I mentioned, LeGarrette Blount is going to be key to this game, just like Michael Turner is for the Falcons. Both of these teams should come in and try and establish their dominance with the run, trying to get that 4.5 yards a carry if they can get it. Now, the Falcons tend to run up the middle, let Turner bounce it from there. That's going to force a lot of pressure on our defensive tackles. Roy Miller's been having a great last couple of games. Gerald McCoy as well, and they're going to cycle more and more guys in there. We've got to make sure that we're being disciplined on our run defense, but still get upfield. I used the phrase previously, like Warren Sapp said, yeah, we stopped the run on the way to the passer. When you look at the teams that have done well against the Atlanta Falcons, like the Steelers, like the Eagles, they've gotten pressure on Matt Ryan when he does drop back. Now, our defensive line, our front seven in general, has looked much better in that pass rush. The question becomes how much of that was because of the different moves or different strategies that Raheem was employing because he felt comfortable with his safeties, and will he feel that comfortable again? Now, Steve White in passingonthegame.blogspot.com pointed out how many pressures that Gerald McCoy got from the under tackle position. So rather than going to that 3-man front, staying in our base 4-3 and just letting our guys try and get after it may be the right way to go this week. Now, keys to the game, these things become more and more trite with each passing week, but this is a slugfest. And what's good for fans is that this is something that we should see for a good 5 years, because these are both young squads. These are both squads that are going to fight in the NFC South. And I'm not discrediting New Orleans at all, but when you look at the young talent on these two teams, this can be very exciting for us to see twice a year. At the Georgia Dome, it was a game of 2 halves. We really did play a much better game in the second half, and we got the benefit of some big plays in the return game specifically. I think that we're going to need that again this week in Raymond James. I think that the two teams line up fairly evenly. I think it's going to be a slugfest, and I think that the difference is going to be whether it's a splash play on defense, an interception, or a return. There's going to be something like that that's going to turn the tide. So will we get the Michael Spurlock that's capable of taking one to the house, or are we going to get the Michael Spurlock who dances and gets a 7-yard return? We're not sure, and you never really know. But from a basic keys to the game perspective, we've got to try and get to that 140, 150 yards on the ground through a combination of our 1-2-3 punch with LeGarrette Blount, Cadillac Williams, and Ernest Graham, who still is not being used. I don't understand why we refuse to use the guy from the fullback spot. If he's not going to block like a fullback, which he didn't do a couple of times last week, he's coming out the back end of a running play, having not hit anybody. then we need to hand him the ball. And if we can't hand him the ball, then we need to use him as a check down receiver because he is going to be a dangerous person to get out in space. If you're not going to do any of those things, then why the hell is he active? Right now, I'm not saying we should focus on someone like Curtis Graham, but he could be that wild card. He has been in the past. Cadillac's doing a great job with the role that he has. I think we've got a pretty good feel for how to handle that. But when you look at the third down plays that we ran last week, and I talked about this in the review video, out of the 16 third down plays, we were in shotgun all but 2 of them, which were the hurry-ups that Josh called QB scrambles on, which were both successful, by the way. And of 9 of those remaining plays, we were in the exact same formation and through the exact same screen pass to Cadillac Williams. It was pathetic. We cannot get into that kind of a habit. We've got to make sure that people cannot read us that easily. On the defensive side of the ball, we've got to slow Turner down. I'm not sure that we can do what we did to Frank Gore with him, but we've got to slow him down and force Matt Ryan into throwing the ball more often than they'd like to, and that gives us a chance to pin our ears back and see if Gerald McCoy can have another big day. See if Styles White can blow up and have a good day. See what those young guys can do over on the left side, Bennett and Crowder. We've got to give that defense a chance and hopefully give our corners a chance. Now, Rondé Barber specifically against Matt Ryan is a nice matchup. He's a veteran. He definitely can pick up on patterns, and I'd like to see him have the big game I think he's capable of. He's going to be responsible a lot of the time for Tony Gonzalez, which is a very tough assignment for him. But I do think that given a little bit of pressure that we're starting to be able to dial up, combined with Barber's film work, should lead to some excitement for us this week. And like I mentioned before, we've got to create some splash plays, whether it's in the return game or whether it's on the defense side of the ball. So as the pewter-colored glasses guy, I do see us taking the victory. I think it's going to be a 24-17 victory for the Bucs. I think that Freeman's going to bounce back from a relatively bad game against the Ravens last week, and I do think Rondé is going to remind us what a corner he is. So that's the preview video for the Falcons this week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you think about it, and we'll be back with a post-game wrap-up sometime around Monday or Tuesday.